On with me right now is I'm hurt of the things you said. I'm hurt that you get defensive. I'm concerned and worried about the sexist statements you were saying yesterday in the seminar. I'm worried.
That is a grown man in a hotel conference room on a folding chair, charging actual Australian dollars from actual paying women for the service of telling them that men, a category he apparently represents, don't want women who challenge them. That is Naeck. That is his job. That is the sentence he has, presumably, said in paid seminars many, many times before a camera caught him saying it. And within about 45 seconds of that clip, a woman in the front row, God bless her, tells him to his face that he is being sexist. He does not know what to do. The workshop does not contain a rebuttal to that.
One-on-one conversation, like, let's talk about your relationships. Let's talk about improving your relationships. Another relationship coach activity could be giving seminars or doing YouTube video.
So let's start where the story actually starts, because nobody starts here. Nobody starts with the fact that before Avery, before the cameras, before a 90-Day Fiancé, Ash was running a business in Melbourne, a relationship coaching business for single women, specifically. That is not a side hustle. That is his income. That is the apartment he lives in, the car he drives, the professional identity he puts on LinkedIn. His clients pay him to help them understand what men want. His clients are women who are single and would prefer not to be.
That was marriage and divorce, or being a fiancé and breaking up, or being exclusive to each other for 2 years and breaking up. So when we extend relationships to all breakup situations.
And this is, to me, the single funniest receipt. Ash himself has said on camera that he and Avery had broken up like 10 times before they even started filming. 10. A 1-0 between 1 and 2, and sometimes 3 a year. Which is not a relationship. That is a recurring subscription. That is a man who has turned his own romantic life into the same breakup and reconciliation loop he is, one assumes, charging clients to help them escape. The 10 breakups are not a red flag. The 10 breakups are a portfolio.
All right. Well, that does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle, in which I watched 90-Day Fiancé and we followed Ash and Avery's story. Tune in next time when we continue with their story. And everyone.
Avery, meanwhile, is a cannabis chef in Seattle. I want you to imagine the Venn diagram of emotionally literate, progressive West Coast women with disposable income and an active Instagram and target client profile of a Melbourne dating coach who specializes in single women. It's not a Venn diagram. It's a circle. Avery is not a random girlfriend Ash happened to find online. Avery is definitionally a person.
Must be a dog. He uses women. He's a liar. On the other end of the spectrum of...
She's like a dog. He said that in a confessional, on camera, about the woman he was engaged to. And I want to be clear about the structure of that sentence, because in Ash's coaching framework, what he is doing there is what he would call establishing dominance through metaphor. He is not being cruel. He is in his own head demonstrating a technique. The performance is the point. The cruelty is collateral to the pedagogy.
My God, that he would double down on lie upon lie upon lie. Like, there are very, either he's telling the truth and that's fine.
The lies, and there are several, are where the professional coach really shows his work. He told Avery his divorce was 10 years ago. It was actually 1 year ago. That is not a slip. That is a decade of fabrication dropped casually into the opening chapter of a relationship. Because Ash understands operationally that a woman will commit differently to a man who has been single for a decade than to a man who is 1 year out of a marriage. That is not a mistake a bad boyfriend makes. That is a product decision. That is the difference between the base package Ash and the premium package Ash. And he's
like, well, if you're so trusting of me, why can't you just be open? So I have a couple trust issues in our relationship. I didn't know anything about the bankruptcy thing till he couldn't.
He also hit a bankruptcy, which, okay, people hide bankruptcies, but the stacking is what matters. The 10-year divorce lie plus the bankruptcy omission plus the current business, which is actively selling advice about how to be in a relationship, means that Ash's own dating coach, if Ash had one, would look at the disclosures and say, hey, bud, you're one away from a regulatory.
He said lots of excuses. And it is a bit suspicious to say, I have this bankruptcy, but it's not my fault. It's because this other person had this terrible financial situation.
And then mid-season, Avery discovers on Facebook, of all platforms, which is embarrassing for everyone involved, that Ash has changed his relationship status to single and deleted her photos without telling her. While she is mid-engagement, while she is planning a wedding, while she is on a TV show about their wedding. That is the kind of behavior that in any other genre gets the camera crew to stop filming and call a producer meeting. On 90 Day Fiancé, it gets a second camera angle. Here is the pivot, because we need one. The Reddit consensus on Ash and Avery is unified. Ash is a narcissist, Avery is a victim. The therapist reacts. Videos on YouTube have compiled his red flags into 12-minute supercuts with chapter markers. That is the dominant read. That is not the read I am offering. Because the dominant read treats Ash as a personality disorder and Avery as a tragedy. I want to reframe them both. Ash is not a personality disorder. Ash is a business model. He has a product. The product is authoritative confidence delivered in a heavy Mauritian accent to women who have been told their whole lives that they are too much. That is a real product. It has a real market. It has real revenue. And the product, like all products, has a failure mode, which is that when the client stops buying, the salesman loses his mind. Avery didn't stop loving Ash. Avery stopped buying his framework. That is the breakup. That is the whole breakup.
Great. Hug each other, hold each other's hands, reach out to each other physically during a fight or after a fight. It's one of the best antidotes to any escalated negative.
Which brings us to the money moment, the beach. Ash, after an argument with Avery, physically walks to the rental car and tries to leave her on the beach in a foreign country, in Australia, with no transportation. A producer, a show producer, an actual crew member in a lanyard intervenes physically between Ash and the car and tells him to go back and talk to her. Production, which is paid to generate drama, intervened to reduce the drama. Do you understand how rare that is? Do you understand what Ash had to be doing in that moment for the people whose literal job is to let the couple destroy each other?
A pretty significant move. Now, I get where Avery's coming from, too. They've just had a really tough 24 hours where she's seen a lot of things. The seminar, the fighting, calling her.
The beach scene is the thesis, because that moment is the moment Ash's business framework, his professional playbook, the one he charges for, runs into a scenario it cannot handle. In his curriculum, the correct response when your partner is too emotional is to withdraw. Demonstrate that her big feelings are making you unavailable. Restore the power balance. That is, no joke, coaching language. He is doing the lesson. And in the real relationship, On camera, with the producer present, the lesson looks like a man abandoning his fiancée on a beach in a foreign country. The framework does not survive contact with oxygen.
A lot of relationships do end in divorce, and we shouldn't shame that. It happens. It happens to the best of us. We give it our best shot. It doesn't work out. Plenty of people who work in my field of couples therapy have had divorces.
And then, in the single most disorienting subplot of the entire arc, Ash, at the tell-all, allegedly hits on Tom Brooks, or Tom Brooks hits on him, depending on which account you read. Either way, the choreography is professional coach who specializes in heterosexual relationship dynamics has an ambiguous moment with another male cast member at a televised reunion. I have no read on that. That is above my pay grade. I include it because it is structurally the comedic ceiling of this arc.
Whatever reason, I don't know. But at the very least, some yellow flags of a potential personality trait of knee-jerk reactivity to lie for him right off the bat is something.
Meanwhile, and this is the only genuinely warm moment of the entire arc, fans watching the show notice that Ash's eyes are bulging. Unprompted, fans on Reddit flagged the possibility of a thyroid condition. Ash gets it checked. He is diagnosed with an actual thyroid condition. Reality television has, for exactly one time in 30 seasons, served a medical function. I will acknowledge that.
I really hope that Ash is the person that he says he is.
All right, well, that does it for that episode in which I react to 90 Day Fiancé. This is the Psychology in Seattle podcast, unless you didn't know from the
Post show, Avery says on camera that only 5% of their actual story was shown, which is, on one hand, the standard cast member complaint. On the other hand, and this is where I want to sit for a second, if what we saw on camera was the cleaned up, producer approved, B-roll buffered 5%, what was the other 95%? I do not want to know. I also really, really want to know.
what's happening for you emotionally right now. Why are you jumping so quick to, I'm destroying you? You know, how come we can't just talk about what happened to you at the seminar?
And I want to go back to that seminar one more time because I cannot let it go. The woman in the seminar, the paying client who called him sexist, is structurally the hero of this entire episode. She paid money, real money, to sit in a room and be told by a self-styled expert that she is too much. And in real time, with no script, with no edit, she looked at him and told him that his product was defective. That is consumer behavior we should be aspiring to. That is a Yelp review.
That he might be losing her because she's doing that. And then they have those secondary emotions of anger, and then he says these things like, you are selfish. Those kinds.
And here's the second pivot, because at 10 minutes we need two. The real story is not Ash being a bad boyfriend. The real story is that Ash's entire business is the same methodology he was running on Avery. That is not a coincidence. That is not incidental. When you watch Ash gaslight Avery, the Darvo, the reframing, the you're being too emotional, redirect, the lying about the divorce timeline, the teaching her how to interpret her own feelings, what you are watching is a man demonstrating on camera for free the exact service he sells to paying clients in Melbourne. The 90 Day Fiancé cameras did not film a relationship. They filmed an infomercial. And Avery, who the show frames as the confused victim, the pitiable one, the woman who should have listened, Avery was right about all of it on day one. She showed up distrustful. She asked hard questions. She noticed the Facebook status. She pushed back on the seminar content. Her family told her on camera to reconsider. She reconsidered. And the show, whose interest is in generating engagement, framed her distrust as the problem. Her distrust was not paranoia. Her distrust was accurate. That is why she got out with her life intact, and Ash got a fire.
And she, from her side, she's saying, I just want you to let me into your emotional world. You just went through a difficult time on the seminar. What happened for you emotionally?
To be fair, because we walk it back, Avery did stay longer than she should have. She did keep filming. She did keep re-engaging. And some of that is on her, and some of that is on the contract, and some of that is on the fact that leaving a coach boyfriend is structurally harder than leaving a regular boyfriend, because the coach boyfriend has a curriculum for why you are the one who is wrong. Getting out from under a man who has a framework for why your instincts are unreliable requires basically a second framework. Avery's second framework was running the hell out the door. She split after the show. They stayed friends. That is astonishingly the best possible outcome available to anyone who ever dated their own therapist's product. And Ash, I want to give him this because we try to be fair. Ash is not a monster. Ash is a man who built an income around a philosophy, and the philosophy on inspection is bad, and the cameras caught the philosophy failing in real time. That is humiliating. That is career damaging. That is ultimately good for the women who would have paid him next year. The show accidentally acted as a consumer protection broadcast. I love it when that happens. The last thing to say, and the thing to end on, is this. Ash had clients. Ash had a mailing list. Ash had a waiting room. And somewhere between season and tell-all, every one of those women watched an episode, saw the divorce lie, saw the Facebook status, saw the beach, saw the producer step in, saw the dog comment, saw the thyroid, and quietly, individually, decided not to renew. The only effective audit of a relationship coach is broadcast television. And here's where I want to land before the kicker, because the bigger point, and this is the take nobody on Reddit is making, is that the entire coaching industry depends on the same trick. Life coach, dating coach, mindset coach, manifestation coach, sober coach, accountability coach, any title that credentials itself out of existence, any product category where the credential is vibes, requires a very specific psychological contract with the client. You pay me, and I tell you that your instincts are wrong, and you pay me again to learn the new instincts I am selling you. That is the whole business. And the reason it works is because most of it happens privately between a coach and a client with no audience. The coaching industry's single greatest structural advantage is that it is never filmed, except once, for a season. On a cable network,
A lot of variance in the coaching world. So I guess we'll find out what kind of coach he is. The other thing I'll say is that relationship coach can mean a lot of different professional activities, from
Avery Warner walked out, Naeck lost clients, the thyroid got treated, the coaching industry continued. And the part that will haunt Avery, honestly, more than the breakup, is how long she stayed polite about a man who had, on every available metric, already told her who he was. In his book, in his seminars, in his client list, in his Facebook status, and the car he tried to leave her standing next to on a beach in Australia. Ash's business unmade itself in public. Avery just had to survive it in real time. If you made it this far, you either love me or you're looking for something to yell about in the comments. Either way, like, subscribe, and tell your sister.